The paralyzing feeling you have right now that you are a fraud and you are about to be found out was not born in your office. It wasn't created in your job interview. It was programmed into you before you even understood what success meant. That persistent, gnawing voice that whispers you aren't good enough, even when the evidence says you are, that is imposter syndrome. And it is not a random personal flaw. It is a learned script, a survival mechanism you mastered as a child. Today, we are not just defining imposter syndrome, we are tracing it back to its source. We are going to find the exact moments in your childhood that created it, and finally understand why you feel this way. First, let's be clear on what we're discussing. Imposter syndrome is not humility. Humility is knowing you have room to grow. Imposter syndrome is the deep, genuine, and often terrifying belief that your accomplishments are the result of luck, timing, or some grand deception. It's the constant fear that at any moment, the real you, the incompetent one, will be exposed for the world to see. It's the brilliant scientist who attributes a breakthrough discovery to just being in the right place. It's the acclaimed author who believes every positive review is a mistake. So, where does this profound gap between reality and feeling come from? It starts here. Our first route is a seemingly positive one, being labelled the smart kid. When a child is consistently praised for being naturally gifted, brilliant, or a genius, they learn a very dangerous equation: worth equals ease. Think about it. When you were praised for being smart, the praise wasn't attached to your effort, your persistence, or the strategies you used. It was attached to your identity. The message was, you are valuable because things come easily to you. But what happens when, inevitably, something doesn't come easily? When you encounter a complex math problem, a difficult college course, or the first major challenge of your career, the logic flips. If you have to struggle, if you have to ask for help, if you fail, the internal conclusion is devastating. It must mean you were never gifted to begin with. It must mean you were a fraud all along. This is how it manifests today. As an adult, you suffer from crippling perfectionism and an intense fear of failure. You are the entrepreneur who has a brilliant product idea but has spent 2 years refining the code, unable to launch. Why? Because you are terrified that if it's not a world-changing stroke of genius right out of the box, it will prove you were never a genius at all. You'd rather not try than try and be seen as average. You avoid any task where you aren't 100% certain of a perfect outcome, because struggle, to you, feels like exposure. The second route is more obvious, but its effects are just as insidious. This is the childhood, defined by a parent who was impossible to please. This is the environment of the missing A. You come home beaming with a report card of 5 A's and 1 B. The first words you hear are not "congratulations on the A's." They are, "What happened with this B?" In this household, the standard is not excellence. The standard is flawlessness. Love, approval, and even basic attention are tied to achieving an impossible bar. You learned that good enough was a form of failure. You learned that any mistake, no matter how small, was a source of disappointment or even anger. So, you didn't just learn to avoid mistakes, you learned to dread them. You developed a hypervigilance, an internal radar scanning constantly for any potential flaw. This is how it manifests today. You are a chronic workaholic. You are the lawyer who consistently bills 100-hour weeks, even when you're ahead. You're the project manager who rereads the same email 15 times before sending it. You know your work is good. But you are not driven by a desire for success. You are driven by a terror of being criticized. Your internal dialogue is still that parent's voice. Every project you complete isn't finished until you've exhausted yourself trying to find the one B that will get you found out. You work harder than everyone around you, not to get ahead, but simply to feel like you are not falling behind, to finally be beyond criticism. The third root grows in the fertile ground of family roles. This happens when children in a family are cast into specific, rigid boxes. You're the smart one, your sister is the athletic one, your brother is the creative one. These labels, often used as conversational shorthand, become iron cages. If your identity is the smart one, you feel you must be the smartest person in every room you enter for the rest of your life. If you aren't just failing, you are failing at your one assigned job. This creates a constant, low-level anxiety. You feel you must perform your role at all times. And you live in fear of meeting someone who is better at your role than you are, like your creative brother, who also happens to get good grades. This threatens your entire sense of self. This is how it manifests today. You are completely unable to internalize your accomplishments. You constantly downplay your success. You are the successful artist who just won a major award. As you're walking off the stage, your first thought isn't, "I did it." It's, "My brother, the analytical one, probably could have done this better if he'd actually tried. I just got lucky they liked my style." When complimented, you deflect. "Oh, it was a team effort," or "it was nothing, really." It's not humility. It's a deep-seated belief that if you accept the praise, you are actively participating in the lie. You still believe you are only smart or creative in comparison to your siblings, not in the objective world. We're about to move into two of the deepest, most foundational roots. But before we do, just take a breath. If these stories are resonating with you, if you are seeing your own history in these patterns, consider subscribing to the channel. We explore these powerful connections between our past and our present every single week, and this is a journey you do not have to take alone. Now, let's look at the root that teaches us we must earn our right to exist. This root is perhaps the most powerful and the most painful. It's the belief that love is something you earn, not something you are given. In this childhood, affection and praise were not random. They were transactions. You got a hug after you won the spelling bee. You were told, "I'm proud of you," after you scored the winning goal. You felt your parents' warmth and attention only when you were actively performing. When you weren't achieving, when you were just sitting, or sad, or struggling, the warmth vanished. The attention turned elsewhere. The message you internalized was one of the most toxic a human can learn. My value is not in who I am. My value is in what I do. You learned to perform for your supper. You learned to equate your self-worth with your list of achievements. And you developed a terrifying subconscious belief. If I stop achieving, I stop being lovable. This is how it manifests today. You are incapable of rest. You feel like a human doing instead of a human being. You are the manager who feels a surge of intense anxiety when you take a vacation. You can't relax on the beach because for the first time in a year, you are not producing. And in your brain, not producing feels identical to being worthless. You secretly fear that your colleagues, your friends, and even your family will realize you have no value once you stop doing things for them. Your success doesn't bring you joy. It just temporarily silences the fear. The moment the applause fades, the anxiety rushes back in, and you are desperate for the next hit, the next achievement, to prove you still deserve to be here. The final root is about survival. This child grew up in an environment that was unpredictable, unstable, or emotionally chaotic. Perhaps it was a home with addiction, a sudden financial crisis, or a parent with an explosive, unpredictable temper. In this environment, the child's world feels constantly on the brink of disaster. To survive, this child learns to become a master of control. They reason, if I can just be perfect, if I can get perfect grades, keep my room perfectly clean, and never cause any trouble, maybe then things will be calm. Maybe then I can stop the bad things from happening. This child becomes hyper-vigilant, not to criticism, but to chaos. They try to control their tiny corner of the world because the rest of it feels completely out of control. Perfectionism isn't about being good, it's about being safe. This is how it manifests today. Your perfectionism is a form of anxiety management. You are the team member who obsesses over the font size in a presentation. Your colleagues think you're just detail-oriented, but you know it's a compulsion. You are checking and rechecking every minor detail of a project, not because you think it will make the project better, but when you feel that if you don't, some unforeseen catastrophe will strike. Failure isn't just embarrassing, it feels dangerous. It feels like the first step back into that childhood chaos. You believe that your success is the only thing holding your world together. You don't feel like an imposter because you think you're bad at your job. You feel like an imposter because you're terrified that you're one tiny mistake away from total collapse. The gifted child, the criticized child, the compared child, the child who performed for love, the child who survived chaos. These are not you. These are scripts you were handed. These are complex, intelligent survival strategies that got you through an impossible situation. The problem is, you are still running that old software. You are no longer that helpless child. You are an adult in a new environment, but you are still using a child's strategy to navigate an adult's world. So, here is the truth. That feeling of being not good enough is not a reflection of your reality. It is the echo of a lesson you learned too well. That fear of being found out is not intuition, it is a memory. You are not a fraud, you are a survivor. And the first step to healing imposter syndrome is not to achieve more. It is to look back with clarity and compassion, and to finally understand that the voice you hear in your head is not your own. It's time to stop listening to it. Before you go, I want to hear your story. Which of these 5 routes resonated with you the most? Share your experience in the comments below. When you read them, you'll suddenly realize just how many other imposters are in the room with you. And you'll see that you are not alone. Thank you for watching.